Welcome back to AM Northwest. She's been called one of the most original and hilarious voices writing today. And when you start reading her new memoir, you won't be able to stop. We welcome back the author of Sucker Punch, Scaachi Koul. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me. What a nice intro.
I'm listening on Audible, and it's so fun to hear your voice tell your story.
I know, it's better. It's better than getting someone else to do it, I
right?
think.
Yeah, yes, much better.
Yeah.
But also, this wasn't the book you started out to write.
No. So about 7 years ago, I sold this book off of the heels of my last book, One Day We'll All Be Dead and None of This Will Matter.
Which was so popular.
And I was right. One day we will all be dead and none of this will matter. I want on record that I was right about
you
that
were
the
correct,
whole time.
Yes.
But I sold this book and I had this whole idea about what it was going to be about. It was going to be about I was about to get married. I just moved to the States. I had all these plans and these ideas. And I had this essay collection about the utility and futility of conflict. I wanted to write about fighting because I fight. I love to fight.
You
I
grew
love
up
to argue.
fighting.
I grew up with it, yeah.
Your family fought all the time.
I was raised by loudmouth South Asians. We all scream at each other. It's a wonderful, beautiful system. Everybody likes it. No one's mentally ill. So I thought I was going to build this book out. And then in quick succession, pandemic happened. I found out that my marriage was not what I thought it was. I got a divorce. My mom got cancer. I lost my job. It is funny.
Yeah,
it is a funny book.
Right.
It just takes
a little bit to get into it.
It takes a couple of pages to see how.
And so you get married.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go well, but partly you have something to do with that. You're kind of holding back, right? And you're taking things out on your husband.
Yeah, I think I had an idea of how marriage worked, and I think I kind of understood it to be kind of steeped in conflict. You know how you always see, like on Valentine's Day, there's always some guy who posts like a thing about his wife or whatever, and he's like, she's really stuck it through with me, like through hard times and good times. I would rather die than a man say that I stuck it out with him through hard times. I don't want that at all. But that's really how I understood hetero relationships to be, how I understood marriage to be. I thought that was the point. So I was really like ready to fight. I was good at it.
Yeah.
And I think one day
he wasn't.
He was really bad at it.
He grew up in a very white guy, grew up in a very different kind of culture, household.
Yeah.
They didn't fight.
Yeah, and he wasn't good at it. And I recognized, well, just because I'm good at it doesn't mean I have to do it. And just because he's bad at it doesn't mean he's losing.
Yeah.
So that took me a long time.
You were dealing though too with this trauma that you hadn't dealt with of a rape in your high school years.
Yeah.
And you were taking it out on him.
Yeah, so I'd been assaulted when I was in university. It was in my first few years at school. And I think once I turned 30, I started to think a lot more and more about it, and it was starting to take a different place in my life. And my relationship with men was changing so much. So of course my relationship with my husband was changing because I was starting to think more about the dynamics that I have had as a woman of color with white men for my whole life. And that changed my marriage in a way that I don't think was ever gonna be solved.
And was it hard to you talk about your divorce because your first book kind of made that your marriage was going well?
Yeah,
you didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah, right? I mean, I think I felt, I'm a journalist by trade, so I always felt quite frustrated that I had this record out there that was kind of inaccurate.
Right.
Even if it was true at the time. It was honest, I was telling the truth that I knew it to be. But it was inaccurate, and that always bothered me, and I wanted something to be able to say, like, listen, I got it wrong, but it's still valuable.
Yeah.
The way I got it wrong is valuable, and now I'm learning how to get it right.
Well, was it tough though when everyone kept saying, why'd you get divorced? What happened?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, and
there's a lot of trolls out there.
Yeah, and there's never one answer. This is the other thing. When someone asks you genuinely, why'd you get a divorce, there's like 4 to 10 answers that you can give. And then, yeah, it is used as like some weird like insult lobbed against me, usually online by someone who disagrees with me politically, as, well, you know, why would I listen to you? You're insufferable. You know, your husband couldn't stick it out with you. To which I say, thank God.
Yes, there you go.
Divorce is dope. It's great.
So how is life for you now?
It's so good. Are you divorced?
No.
There's time. There's time. I swear to God, by the end of the day, I'm getting every woman in Portland divorced. I will handle your legal fees myself.
I'll talk to my husband about
Please
that.
Please do. I won't help him. I will only help you. It doesn't matter if it's your fault.
So talk to me about your mom. She was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah.
And you two were really pretty close. Even though you argued all the time, that's the way you talk to each other.
Yeah, she makes me insane. Yeah. But we are really close. She got cancer about a year after my separation. She's in remission now, which is very exciting.
So great. That's so great.
Yeah, so she's good. But it did, you know, watching her get sick did sort of solidify for me, like, oh, my mom has a partner in my dad. Yeah. She has a companion. She has someone who's really going to be with her in this. And I didn't feel like I had that.
Yeah.
And that put it into stark contrast, that while I understood the lessons that my parents taught me about conflict and how you can talk things out and maybe talk them out in unhealthy ways, they also were each other's they are each other's person, and they take care of each other.
Yeah.
And that was so fundamentally lacking.
There's a sweet paragraph when you talk about your parents. They would argue about something. You were out somewhere, and then you get in the car, and they'd be holding hands in the car on the way home after arguing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really good at that. I mean, I am too, to some degree. I can have a fight with someone and recover, but my ex-husband couldn't. And just because I can do it doesn't mean that it's the way that I want to live. And I think that's really what I figured out.
You mentioned that the divorce, there were a lot of reasons for it, but also an affair.
Yes, yeah, he had a years-long affair with a white lady. Come on.
Because I don't know if I said your husband was white, and now you've kind of sworn off white guys.
Like, it's a rough scene. It's like, listen, it's already bad having to date men. That is already a burden. And then you want me to date a white man?
Well, wait a second. You talk in your book about how who are you around? I mean, because you were getting criticism from people of color, women of color, saying, "Why don't you date a person of color? Why are you dating all these white
and I mean,
guys?"
I met my ex-husband when I was 20.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot of time.
Right.
So
but
now
who you work with is kind of who you see.
And I work in a media industry, and that is one of the whitest places, one of the whitest creative places in North America. It's shockingly full of white men. Everyone's named Josh. I bet you have 10 on your staff.
We have a few. Yes, we have a few. You also get serious too, talking about weight issues, because you grew up with weight issues. Mom was always worried about her weight, and you took that on as well.
Yeah, I think every girl, frankly, inherits this from their mother. It's kind of rote, but it is exactly where it comes from. I think in the process of the divorce, while I was thinking about this assault that had happened to me as a teenager, and then thinking about my marriage and my parents' marriage, I started also thinking about my body and my relationship to self. And I fought so much with my body and how it looked and how it was shaped. And I got to this point where I was like, well, all that fighting got me nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm divorced, I'm unhappy, and I still look like this. So I may as well like it.
You look gorgeous.
Thanks, I know.
Absolutely gorgeous.
That's not my problem. But I mean, it's just like everybody at
Yeah.
night, you sit and you look in the mirror and you think about all the things that you would maybe like to be different.
Right.
And I was also doing that like everybody else, but I wanted to interrogate why and where that was coming from.
Your ex-husband made great food.
Great cook.
And you ate it.
I ate all of it.
And he wanted you to eat less of it.
I think, I think it's a tricky thing when you're a woman where you are supposed to have appetites. We are taught to have appetites, but we're also taught not to show them too much.
Right.
So this is really common. I mean, how many times, like, have we heard the whole trope of like, oh, she's such a guy's girl, like she loves a burger and a beer. All right, well, me too. But if I gain weight after eating it, that is where the problem starts to lie societally.
Right.
But,
what is it like on your book tour when people bring up the divorce? What's the reaction?
Okay, this is my favorite thing. Everybody tells me about how bad their marriage is, and I love it. I love knowing about like your terrible husband and the awful thing he did, and they'll tell me with details, and at the end, every time I'm like, yeah, you should leave him. Yeah. And they don't want to do that. They're like, no, I just wanted to tell you. Yeah, and I'm like, that's fine. You should leave him.
Well, are you getting a lot of material for your next book?
Yeah, if I could write about other people's marriages, I would have 6 books by now. So maybe I should.
You should. There you go. We want to tell everyone that you have an event at Powell's tonight at 7 o'clock. We're going to put all the information for everyone on our website. You're also going to be on Livewire, too, doing
tomorrow,
Livewire, which will be really fun.
Very fun.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
The book, again, is Sucker Punch by Scaachi Koul. We'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.